Hey guys, it's day 8 of 365, and today we're in Genesis 18 through the end of it, and then chapter 19 as well, Matthew 6, 25 through 34, and also in the beginning of chapter 7, 1 through 14, and we're in Psalms 8, 1 through 9, and Proverbs 2, 6 through 15. In the Genesis section, we're looking at the Old Testament still, so it's Abraham interceding for Sodom and Gomorrah, which is a really interesting kind of dichotomy and relationship between him and God, where he keeps going back to him and says, God, what if I find 50 righteous people? What if I find 40? What if I find 20? And so it's really interesting how Abraham goes back to God over and over again, and see Abraham's heart in this situation, not wanting to see destruction and pain. However, it's rightfully needed because of the destruction and evil which is going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. And then we move into Matthew, and this is a continuation of Jesus's Sermon on the Mount and talking to people. And so we're going to come back to that. Psalms 8 and Proverbs, both good texts today, but we're really wanting to, personally, I want to hone in on this section in Matthew because I think it's so important for us in our daily lives. And so I want to kind of read the majority of it. It's 25 through 44 that I kind of want to hang our hat on today. And so we get to this point where Jesus is talking about anxiety, talking about our daily walk, and what are we worried about? What are we concerned about? And in verse 27, he says, "And who of you, by being worried, can add a single hour to his life?" By being stressed out, by being anxious, by being worried, who can add to their time? You know, maybe you can argue that you make a better decision. Maybe you argue that you prevented something from happening. But I think it leans more into that idea of anxiety and stress, of like being concerned about things and stuff weighing you down and being weighed down by your circumstances or your thoughts. How are those adding to your life? How are those giving you more when they're to a degree being distractions instead of you stepping up to the plate and being proactive or leaning forward? But if we look at the text, he continues on and he leans in to another section of the text. Okay, and it talks about this idea of seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And now, if that's where our focus is, and if that's where our mental capacities are leaning into, it's an entirely different world that's being opened up. So instead of being concerned about this little microcosm of something over here or my tiny little kingdom here, if my perspective is on something greater and bigger and larger than myself, I have something more to look forward to. I have something more to hope in. And then when we move into chapter 7, in verses 1 through 4, not 1 through 4, of 1 through 14, we get into that classic text talking about the wide gate and the narrow gate. That as we're going through life, there's a wide gate that leads to destruction. It's this idea of there being this easy path that everyone is walking down and everyone is easily being allured into. And then there's this narrow path that leads to righteousness. It's this narrow path which is generally understood as being countercultural, which is being understood as one that is leaned in and focused on God and on the things that he values and the things that he holds fast to. And I think it's important that when we kind of think of that verse, it's yet again, it's not this idea of being restrictive, but it reminds me of something that the apostles said in the New Testament in some of their letters, and specifically Paul, where he says, walk in a manner worthy of your calling. That when you've been given this position in a new family, or when you're trying to walk through this narrow gate, you're trying to live life by a new set of terms and circumstances. And for us as believers, we have to remember that we're not working for our salvation, or working from salvation. Like, salvation is something which occurs and happens in one instance, and then there's like this idea like the rest of our life proceeding forward from it where we're living out our faith and we're living out this new identity. And so the idea of walking in a manner which is worthy of the new identity is what's important. Not that we had to earn the identity, but because we've been given this identity, I should walk in such a way that is as if I deserved it and as if I earned it. And so my challenge for you guys today, is that you, one, kind of let go of some of that anxiety, some of the stress in your life, start to lean into God. And then also, as you begin to lean towards Him and start to chase after Him, that you understand that there's this path that we're supposed to be walking, and that we should be looking forward to a new life. We should be doing something that's countercultural, something that is good, something that is honoring of Him, and it is worth something, that it is something that we decide to chase because we want a new identity. And Father, I ask that not just me, but others who are listening would walk in a manner worthy of your calling. Blessed, guys. Y'all have a great day.